Okay, good evening, everyone. We're here for a special council meeting this evening. I'm going to go quick into introductions and then open the meeting. We have with us in person Councillor Joel Lemoine. Good evening. Councillor Shane Pelletier. Hello. CEO Mitch Duval.
Bonsoir.
Myself, Chris Ewan. Councillor Janine Belanger.
Evening.
Councillor Jason Bondarchuk.
Good evening.
Our CFO Mohammed.
Good evening.
And our Assistant CEO Dominic.
Evening.
Okay, without further ado, I will get into item number 1, special meeting, public hearing called to order. Do I have a mover? Councillor Pelletier, second. Oh, sorry. Yes, any questions before we open? None? Okay, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? None. That is carried. Open the meeting at 7:01.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship. Welcome, everybody, members of council, administration, and ratepayers of the Armor Rechot, and as well as any media that may be out there online. My name is Mitch Duval. I'm the CEO for the Armor Rechot, and I'll be introducing just part of the 2025 financial plan for tonight. After the presentation, we will allow for questions for all those that are out there. So we do appreciate the time you're taking out of your busy schedule tonight to be with us and interested in our financial plan. So before we move forward to the financial plan, just want to give you a quick overview of the Armor Rechot, and especially for those that may be new to the area. So the Armor Rechot is a rural municipality. That's what RM stands for. And we are in the Winnipeg Capital Region, just bordering the southern portion of Winnipeg. Our population, as per the 2021 census, is sitting at 7,469, and that represents about 2,770 dwellings at that time, and with a land mass of 333 square kilometers. So within the Armor Rechot, we have communities which are represented by Île-des-Chênes, St. Adolphe, St. Agathe, Grand Point, Howden, and Glenlee. So the government structure for the Armor Rechot is mandated to provide social, economic, environmental, recreational, transportation, protective services, public health, and utility services, and other services to our residents. In order to do this, we have 2 branches. One branch is the legislative branch, which is basically comprised of your RM council that you see before you here tonight. The second is the administration team, or branch, which is led by myself. So on behalf of council who just introduced themselves, I'll go through them again. It consists of a mayor and 4 elected councillors through the ward system by our residents and landowners, and they are elected for a 4-year term. And they act in governance of the Manitoba Municipal Act as council. So through some strategic direction to administration, through bylaws and resolutions and policies, that is how administration moves forward. So again, your mayor is Chris Ewan. Ward 1, which is the Île-des-Chênes area, is represented by Councillor Shane Pelletier. Ward 2 is the St. Adolphe area, represented by Councillor Jason Bondarchuk. Ward 3 is formed by the area south of PR 210 and including the communities of St. Agathe, which is represented by Councillor Joel Lemoine. And last but not least is Ward 4, formed by the areas north of 210, which include Howden and Grand Point, and your representative there is Councillor Janine Belanger. So I will turn it over to our CFO, Mohammed Zaman, who will go through the 2025 financial plan and the numbers and all the goodies that we will be talking to you tonight about. Mohammed.
Thank you, Mitch. Good evening, Honorable Mr. Mayor, members of council, administration, ratepayers of RM Rechot, and any media on the line. My name is Mohammed Zaman, CFO RM Rechot. I am pleased to be presenting you in person today with the details of 2025 budget. The RM of Resort's motto describes an exceptional living environment with neighborly appeal. Located just 15 kilometers south of Winnipeg, Resort offers many opportunities for businesses and families, a great place to live, having beautiful, diverse, strong, and caring communities. We know that currently we all are facing some challenges like global inflation, slowdown of economy, geopolitical, and climate-related real challenges. And together we hope to get it through. Before getting into the financial plan presentation, let's look at the agenda points. We have 5 topics as shown in this slide. Each time this slide rolls around, the highlighted red bar is the topics of the presentation, and that item will only be presented. Our first topic for today's presentation is corporate budgeting, objectives of the presentation, and the financial planning process that we follow in preparing the RM financial plan. Next slide about corporate budgeting. A municipal budget is prepared and approved annually by the council to finance the delivery of programs and services to the community according to the council approved service levels. Preparation of the corporate budget is one of the most critical initiatives undertaken by administration, as it acts as the fiscal plan that provides the resources required to make progress towards achieving the community vision and the council priority. Administration uses council approved services and service levels, strategic direction, and priorities as the foundation on which to build the annual operating and capital budgets. Administration establishes the budget with a strong understanding of its impact on future years and the ability to fund those impacts. The RM of Resort's budget is divided into 2 reporting units, municipal and utility, as shown in this slide. The municipal budget is further subdivided into operating and capital for the provision of RM programs and services and allows for investment in priority infrastructure projects. Similarly, the utility budget is also subdivided into operating and capital to ensure enough dollars are in place to maintain reliable service delivery, self-sustainability, and resources investment in utility-related infrastructure projects. Public hearing objectives. The main objective of this presentation is to provide residents with an overview of 2025 financial plan, both for operating and capital sides. To help municipalities educate the public about the financial situation of the municipality and to assist the public to understand how tax dollars are being spent. It is an opportunity to gather information, ask questions, and provide feedback. This presentation will be available on our website beside 2025 financial plan and the tax levy pipeline. The next slide is about financial planning process. This picture looks like a wheel that includes several key steps for financial planning process. The financial planning process is a systematic approach to gathering financial information, setting financial goals, analyzing the financial situation, developing, implementing, and monitoring financial plan, and making adjustments as needed. In RM of Resort, this process is started with departments preparing their preliminary budget information based on their current programming needs. From there, information is compiled into one budget and one capital plan and adjusted by CAO and CFO as necessary. CAO and CFO then meet with council to review budget on a line-by-line comparison against actual and budgeted from the last year. Council changes are brought forward into the revised budget, if any. Sometimes a second review by council is completed, After the revision, if no changes are made, then CEO, CFO prepares the final financial plan and the tax levy bylaw for first reading. Once first reading is passed, the public hearing notification procedure as laid out by the Municipal Act is published in the papers and presentation is prepared. Any changes, comments resulting from this public hearing are incorporated in the financial plan and reviewed and approved by council. Final steps are adoption of the tax levy bylaw by giving second and third reading. Next on the agenda, assessment and mill rate. Assessment. The province does a reassessment every 2 years. The last reassessment was done in 2023, and this year is the reassessment year. Assessment values are currently based on 2022-23 market values. So the assessment branch tried to find comparative sales in the area to come up with an assessment value of a property in each community. In 2024, RM assessment value of all properties was 702 million, and whereas in 2025, assessment value is gone up to 879 million, which is about 25% more than the last year. So we are using the new assessment value when preparing for 2025 budget. Under the Municipal Assessment Act, classification of properties and portion values regulation, all residential property classes are assessed at 45% for property tax calculations. Any agriculture or farm property classes are assessed at 26%. Institutional property classes are assessed at 65%. Pipeline property classes are assessed at 50%. Railway property classes are assessed at 25%. And any designated recreational classes properties like golf courses are assessed at 10%. And all other property classes are assessed at 65%. Next on the slide, how we calculate the mill rate. Once the operating budget has been finalized by council, the non-revenues such as fees, rentals, grants, bank interest, any other proceeds are subtracted from the expenditures, leaving the balance to be raised through property taxes. Every year during budget process, council determine and set the mill rate based on the municipal requirements for the year and can be determined by divided total municipal requirements by total portion assessment values of all properties in the municipality, which is then multiplied by 1,000. The resultant figure is called the municipal mill rate for current year as shown in this slide. For 2025, the RM requirements to be raised from property taxes is around 6.2 million. Ten years annual assessment comparison. This slide is just to give you an idea as to how the assessment has increased over the last 10 years. From 423 million in 2016 to 879 million in 2025, which is almost double. Annual assessment comparisons with the last year. This slide is to give you an overall picture of the breakdown of all property classes for 2024 versus 2024 annual assessment comparison. You can see the assessment trends on this slide for each of the property classes. Whereas residential property class is approximately 2/3 of the assessment value in the municipality. The annual assessment of residential property classes have changed about 26%. Agriculture property classes have changed 30%. Commercial property classes have changed 13%. And other property classes have changed about 22% from the last year, as shown in this slide. Overall growth, as we are showing here, is 25.16% increase for 2025 due to reassessment of the properties. Property tax mill rates. Your tax bill is basically split into 3 parts. special levy set by the school divisions, education support levy, which is applicable on commercial properties only, set by the province, and municipal levy set by the council. So the council has only authority to set the municipal mill rate. Property tax bill. Here is the tax bill in three parts, just to show you for an example. Assessment is the first part. This parcel is a residential home with some land. The portion assessment is the amount used to calculate property taxes. If you have not added any additional buildings or not done any land improvements recently, and your property value has not gone up due to reassessment, then your portion assessed amount and property taxes should not be changed, as the mill rate remains same as the last year. The top portion of the tax bill is the municipal portion, whereas the bottom portion is school related, for which a municipality has no control. As the mill rates for some of the school divisions have gone up, so even then, if your assessment doesn't change, you will anticipate some dollars hike in your school taxes. In regarding to education property tax credit advance, the government of Manitoba introduced the homeowners affordability tax credit of up to $1,500 on the education portion of property taxes in budget 2024-25. This credit replaces the school tax rebate and education property tax credit for residential properties for 2025 tax year. Keep in mind, the homeowners affordability tax credit applies only to residential properties that are designated as principal residences. Farm properties will continue to receive the Manitoba school tax rebate, which is maintained at 50%. There are no provincial property tax credits or rebates to be applied to commercial properties. Tax bill summary. This slide is the summary portion of the tax bill, along with the detached portion, which includes net school taxes, current taxes included RM portion of taxes as well, and the balance owing. The due date for property taxes payment is October 31st this year. Please make payment to the RM of Richard within due date to avoid late charges. Accepted payment methods are cash, checks, debit, Visa, MasterCard, and online bill payments. Please also keep in mind that RM is allowing discount for early payment of taxes, and the discount is calculated at 1.5% for the month of June and July, and 1% for August. The next slide is about school divisions requirement. Here is the comparison of mill rates and the taxes being collected on behalf of the province and the school divisions by the RM, and then transfer them to the respective entities. We have 5 school divisions in the municipality. In this year, mill rates for some of the school divisions have decreased, as shown red on this slide, due to the assessment growth. But on the other side, if you look at their dollar acquisition value, which has increased about 2.16 million, which is around 22% from the last year. Overall, there is a decrease in mill rate by 3.2% on the province and school division tax levy, but regardless of this decrease in school taxes mill rate, if your property assessment value has increased, you would have to pay more school taxes as compared to the last year. Any question related to school portions, please direct them to the appropriate school divisions your roll number is. Tax collection. RM of Richard is collecting a total of 19.75 million of taxes in 2025, as depicted in this pie chart. Of the total taxes, only 39% goes to pay for municipal operations, and the rest is for school division. Proposed municipal levy. Here is the proposed 2025 municipal levy mill rates. Council has decided to keep the same bottom line mill rate of 7.95. You can see a little fluctuation in the mill rate by object, but at the end of the day, there is no change in the mill rate in 2024 and 2025, as it stays the same at 7.95. The next agenda point is operating budget revenue. Next on the slide is municipal operating revenue. The proposed 2025 municipal operating revenue is 17.81 million with no increase in the mill rate. This pie chart shows three components that make up of municipal revenue. 43% is coming from municipal taxation, which is about 7.67 million. 38% is coming from other revenue sources. The detail of the other revenue sources is coming on the next slide, which is about 6.74 million. 19% is transfer from reserve, mainly for capital projects, which is about 3.4 million. In this slide, you can see a 38% of municipal revenue is coming through other sources, which helps a lot in maintaining the affordable mill rate for the taxpayers. Other revenue sources on the current slide. There are various options of alternative sources of revenue for which administration always looked at and focused on while ensuring service levels are maintained. These options could be revenue from assessment growth, sales and user fees, government grants, permit license fees, and other miscellaneous sources that helps a grade to offset overall property tax requirements and lower down burden on the ratepayers. As you can see through other revenue sources, RM is getting around 6.74 million, which I said in the last slide is 38% of total RM budget. Municipal operating reserves. A reserve fund is a designated pool of money set aside by an organization to address future expenses, unforeseen events, or to provide a financial cushion. It serves as a form of saving account, ensuring that funds are available when needed, thereby improving financial stability and mitigating risks. It helps organizations avoid financial distress by ensuring there are sufficient funds available to address unforeseen circumstances like floods or other natural disasters and to fund future capital expenditures. By setting aside funds in advance in the reserves, organizations can avoid for long-term borrowings or imposing sudden tax increase on current or future taxpayers. To keep this in mind, the RM of Richard maintaining various reserves as shown on this slide to better plan and budget for the future. You can see in this slide at the top one, over 2 million forecasted revenue for general reserve is coming from GFL Mid-Canada as the RM share of landfill operations contracting out. There are two reserves, machinery replacement and fire department reserves, which are currently being funded through mill rates. All other reserves are funding through other sources of revenue. This year, a sum of 275,000 allocated to put in machinery reserves, whereas 225,000 to fire reserve to replenish the machinery and equipment in future for better operations and maintaining levels of service of Transportation and Protective Services Department. CCBF is the Canada Community Building Fund, formerly known as Gas Tax Fund, is funded by the federal government with the collaborations of the provinces, and allocation is based on population of the municipality. In this year, RM is getting around 433,000 through CCBF funding. Overall, in reserves, RM has an opening balance of 7.16 million, whereas a forecasted revenue for the year is coming in 3.03 million, making an adjusted balance of 10.18 million. The adjusted balance is basically the balance before deducting the capital project cost for the year. You will see another slide coming next in this presentation with the final closing balance in reserve. The next slide is about utility operating revenue. The utility operational revenue for this year is estimated to 4.97 million. Today, utility operations are facing more challenges, such as higher price inflation for operation, maintenance, and replacing of current and aging infrastructure, provision of new infrastructure, and ongoing effects of changing environmental standards. These challenges are putting significant upward pressure on utility rates. Long-term planning with minimal rate fluctuations are critical for the self-sustainability of utility operations. The Council has no control over the setting of utility rates. It is the Public Utilities Board in Manitoba who approves utility rates. You can see here Richard Utility is estimated about 1.44 million revenue from water consumer sales, including sewer services charges. The development fees of 887.6 thousand shown in this slide is basically the utility portion of dedication fees, which is being transferred to utility reserves at year end for funding future capital projects and is subject to the development activities in the RM. Government grants and transfer from reserves are basically funds allocated to utility capital projects, mainly coming from Manitoba Water Service Board on 50-50 cost sharing basis. Miscellaneous revenue category includes the penalty for late payment of utility bills, installation and connection service fees. Further detail can be found on page 6 of the financial plan. The next on the screen is Richard Utility Reserve. Like general operating reserves, the Richard municipality has also maintained a utility reserve to better address the future need of the utility-related infrastructure. Effective January 1st, 2023, all utilities were amalgamated to one utility as per Public Utility Board order. Therefore, now RM has one combined reserve for utility. Currently, we have around 2.89 million adjusted balance in RM utility reserve. The forecasted revenue to reserve is from utility portion of development fees and again subject to the development activities in the RM. The next agenda point is operating budget expenses. Summary of municipal operations. Here is the summary of the municipal operating expenditures. The proposed 2025 municipal operating budget as shown by department is 17.81 million with no impact on mill rate by maintaining 7.95, same as the last year. The proposed operating budget addressed the needs of key service areas, maintaining service delivery level, and support projects that advance council's priority areas. We will discuss one by one in the next slides in detail with their target spending. General government services. In general government services, the major roles of council are decision-making, good governance, representatives of the community, and stewardship. Administration is responsible for providing advice and implementing council's decisions and policies. Administration takes care of the everyday work of running the municipality. The estimated 2025 general government budget is about 1.74 million, with an increase of 1.9% over the last year. The target spendings includes for legislative expenditures, administrative offices, staff salaries and benefits, municipal office operational expenditures, and the general insurance expenditures. In addition to the above, the cost for maintaining of 3 daycares, 2 in St. Rodolphe and 1 in Eldashane are also included in general government services expenditures budget. The next slide is about protective services expenditures. The provision of municipal protective services such as fire protection, emergency management response in case of motor vehicle accidents, flood or any other natural disaster, law enforcement, ensuring building codes and standards while inspecting buildings, play a critical role in maintaining public order, reducing crime rates, and ensuring community safety and well-being. The estimated 2025 protective services budget is about 1.4 million. A 39% increase over the last year is due to allocation of budget for a new building inspector for commercial properties, proposed hiring of a community services officer, and the animal control officer. Therefore, the target spendings under this service includes expenditures for law enforcement, including 911 and night patrolling services, maintaining and supporting the operations of fire departments in the community, and the operational activities of emergency responders, expenditures for EMO coordinator on the flood control side, building inspectors' salaries and benefits, and animal and pest control expenses. The next is transportation services budget. The Municipal Transportation Services, also known as Public Works Department, performs various important duties like inspection, maintenance, and repair of public infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, and buildings, operating a variety of heavy machinery and equipment, performing maintenance tasks such as moving, pruning, and cleaning in public parks and green spaces, to ensure safety regulations are updated and in place while assisting in the planning and execution of public works project. The estimated 2025 transportation services budget is 3.14 million, an 8% increase from the last year. Expenditures includes for public works staff salaries and benefits, equipment and yard operations, road maintenance and purchase of parts and inventories, goods supplies such as gas and oil for vehicles and machinery, purchase of dust control materials, sand and salt for winter, and paying telephone, internet, and hydro bills. The next slide is about environmental health services budget. In provision of environmental health services, municipalities are playing an important role for managing the collection and disposal of residential and non-residential solid waste, recycling, and operating of landfill sites. The proposed 2025 environmental health services budget is about 863,000, which is 7.6% more than the last year. Includes expenditures for operating disposal sites, garbage and recycling collection, included curbside bulk collection, which is scheduled on Saturday, June 7th and October 4th of this year. The RM also administered the Dutch elm disease program on cost recovery basis with the province. Public health and environmental development services. The public health and welfare services covers expenditures for social assistance and contribution to senior support. Whereas environmental development services covers expenditures related to McDonald Resort Planning District and monies for the review of the development plan bylaw. The proposed 2025 combined public health and environmental development services budget is about 20.25 thousand, an increase of 3.8% over the last year. The next on the screen is economic development budget. Yes, the economic development is a top priority for municipal leaders, and therefore the importance of local economic development is more obvious now than ever. Economic development is the process of encouraging business development to boost the local economy by offering tax incentives to motivate and encourage businesses to relocate to the community, resulting creation of new job opportunities, lower poverty rate, improve the quality of life, and a greater provision of basic amenities throughout the entire community. The estimated 2025 economic development budget is 931,000, a 37% increase over the last year. This increase is due to some extra money put in for business export to capture some more economic opportunities for RM, money set aside for car sharing projects and development of incubation space. Most of these projects are being funded through external grants money. Other expenditures are includes for destruction of pests, weed control, watershed districts, and economic development officer and staff wages and benefits. The next on the slide is recreation and cultural services. Recreation and cultural services play an important role in the well-being of a community, and therefore RM of Resort Recreation Department is committed and dedicated to provide services in the area of culture, community, and social development, as well as recreation, parks, and playgrounds, by offering a wide variety of programs such as healthy living classes, programs for children, youth, and senior citizens, nature-based activities, arts and crafts opportunities. The Recreation Department also acts as the primary contact for certain local boards, community groups, and outside agencies. Through Recreation Department, RM is providing operating grants to community centers and halls and life cycle maintenance costs to arenas, parks, and for other recreation spaces. The estimated 2025 recreation budget is 1.59 million, a 10% increase over the last year, is mainly due to the increase in the operating and life cycle funding of community facilities. The next on the screen is fiscal services and reserve transfer. The estimated 2025 fiscal services budget is 7.68 million, and expenditures are included for funding capital projects, both for municipal and utility, tax discount, early tax bill payments, which is 1.5% for June and July and 1% for August, and debenture debt payments. A separate slide is coming next for more detail about the debenture. In 2025 budget, about 3 million has set aside for transfer to specific reserves for future needs. Debenture debt. Debenture is a type of business loan and most common form of long-term debt. Municipalities often issue debentures to raise money for its growth and funding large capital projects. RM of Resort has currently 3 debentures on the books this year, as shown in this slide. One more will come off the books next year, leaving a balance of 2 debentures to become off as per their expiry, resulting to increase RM's debt capacity. The next is utility operating expenditure. The importance of water and sewage treatment plants cannot be overstated. They are crucial for safe drinking water, prevent groundwater and water pollution, protecting public health, preserving the environment, conserving water resources, and supporting sustainable development. In an increasingly urbanized and industrialized world, sewage treatment plants offer a solution to the growing challenges of wastewater management, ensuring that we can continue to enjoy clean water, healthy ecosystems, and a high quality of life. By investing in and maintaining these vital systems, societies can build a more sustainable and resilient future for all. Therefore, the Council has proposed a sum of 4.97 million utility operating budget for 2025. The utility rates are set by the Public Utilities Board and are the primary funding sources for the utility operational activity to cover the cost of water supply, sewage collection and disposal, utility operators' salaries and benefits, and the capital projects cost. The good thing, we currently don't have any debenture debt on the utility side. And finally, we have our last agenda point for this presentation, which is capital budgeting with funding sources. This includes both municipal and utility capital projects. The project's expenditures are split into the departments responsible. Effective municipal capital budgeting and improvement planning is essential for fostering sustainable growth and development in communities. Long-term planning allows municipalities to anticipate future needs, coordinate multiple projects, and ensure that resources are used efficiently and effectively to benefit residents and businesses alike. Long-term municipal capital budgeting and improvement planning is a cornerstone of sustainable community growth and development. By thinking decades in advance for future needs, coordinate complex projects, and create infrastructure that supports economic prosperity and improves the quality of life for all residents. When these capital projects are executed effectively, long-term capital improvement planning benefits everyone, making communities more vibrant, resilient, and prepared for the future. With this in mind, the Council of the RM of Richard has allocated around 7.2 million in this budget to be spent both for municipal and utility-related capital projects. So let's move on to see what we have in this list. Capital budgets for general government services projects. In this slide, you can see a sum of 1.28 million funds allocated in 2025 budget for general government services capital projects. There are total 9 capital projects in general government services as listed in this slide, and 83% of funding sources are coming through the grant money. Further details on any of these projects can be obtained by contacting our office during regular business hours. Capital budget for protective services projects. A sum of 91.5 thousand has been allocated in 2025 budget for protective services capital projects as shown in this slide. Capital budget public works equipment and machinery. Under the Transportation Services Department, the proposed 2025 capital budget for equipment and machinery replacement is 707,000 for a total of 5 projects as listed in this slide. The proposed expenditures are for acquiring or improving new or existing equipment and machinery and items which sustainability increase the estimated useful and services lives of existing equipment and machinery. Capital budget for public works main projects. The estimated 2025 capital budget for transportation services is around 2.28 million. That includes 7 capital projects as shown in this slide, mainly focusing on upgrading, maintaining, and or replacing existing RM infrastructure, which needs immediate attention and are important for the community growth. We have a big capital project lineup in this list here, estimated around 1.5 million regarding construction of a new landfill site. Capital budget for recreations projects. The proposed capital budget for recreation services is 265,000, includes 7 capital projects as listed in this slide. And all projects are being funded through recreation reserves. Our recreation department is actively seeking external grants funding for these projects. And if applications are succeeded, the grant money would be used instead of the reserve fund. Capital projects for resort utilities. In 2025, Council has allocated 2.59 million for capital projects of resort utility. There are total 3 capital projects included in 2025 proposed utility capital budget, focusing on upgrading, maintaining, and/or replacing existing utility infrastructure to better address the community needs and growth. These projects are being funded on 50-50% cost sharing basis with Manitoba Water Services Board. Any question or further detail regarding utility projects can be obtained by contacting our Public Works Manager during the regular business hours. Municipal operating reserves balance after capital projects. Here is the status of municipal reserve balances after consuming capital projects cost for the year. So you can see in this slide at the bottom of last column, we have a closing balance of 6.8 million in our general operating reserves pool. Utility reserve balance after capital projects. This slide shows the utility reserve balance after utility capital projects cost consumption for the year. So we have a closing balance of 1.6 million in our utility reserves, with some exception to 2024 development fees adjustment. And with that, I have done my part of the presentation. And I thank you very much for everyone attending and having with us in this important session. Now I over to Mitch, our CEO, for closing part of the presentation. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, Mohammed, for that well-detailed presentation. A copy of this presentation, of course, will be made available online at www.reachot.com shortly. Just again, a reminder that property taxes are due on or before October 31st of 2025. Otherwise, you'll start incurring penalties on the outstanding balances. Also, a quick reminder that your 2025 Board of Revision will be sitting on Wednesday, October the 8th at 10 a.m. This is for those that receive an assessment change on their property. If you wish to appeal those values, this is the time to do so, because that is the values that we are going to be using in calculating your taxes for 2026. So again, October 8th at 10 a.m. For those that do not pay their property taxes, there's something called the tax sale date. But due right now to our cyber situation, we are unable to provide you with a date. However, once we are back up and running, we will be notifying you of that date immediately to get that going. So again, thank you. The chime tells me it's time to quit. Thank you for your time. Any comments or questions? I do see that we have a media person online. So if you could forward me any questions you may have as a result of this public presentation, please do so and send those questions directly to myself at cao@reachot.com. Other than that, I will turn it over to our Mayor, Chris Ewan, to proceed with readings of the bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, and thank you, Mr. CFO. I appreciate that. Very well done. I especially love the transitions between each.
Yeah.
Very creative. I will go to the next item, which is proceeding with the second reading of the financial plan. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lemoine, second. Councillor Belanger, thank you. I'll open up for debate, discussion. Obviously, we've talked about this for a month or two now, so we all know what's going on. Any changes, edits, nothing? Good. Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, none. That is carried. And we'll go on to proceeding with the third reading. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bondarchuk, and second, Councillor Pelletier.
Just a reminder for council, this is third reading. I did put a clause in third reading that states, subject to municipal board approval on the waste management bylaw 9-2024. We have yet to hear back from the municipal board regarding the special services. However, I did check with the province. We are allowed to proceed with the financial plan as presented. So recommendation is to give it third reading, and pitter patter, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Final call for council. Any final debate, questions, changes? We're good. Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, none. That is carried. And final item is closing of the meeting. Do I have a mover? Councillor Munn, second, Councillor Pelletier. Final thoughts? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, none. Close the meeting at 7:51 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of your night.